Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Zemo, the dad in DPS, and today it's midweek, so we are having another episode of the good, the scrap, and the script. Now today we have a gun that I found the other day, and it's a shotgun this time. Now, don't exactly have a build to go with it, so instead of going over, the build I have, I'm going over the build technically I would have to an extent, or at least perks that would be particularly, useful. But anyway, I introduced to you the 8-barrel. So the weapon itself is a quadruple ammo capacity, plus 10% damage while aiming, 15 faster reload speed, 8-barrel shotgun. I say 8-barrel because, it's a double barrel shotgun. Quad ammo, it's basically got 8 barrels. It's definitely a decent weapon. Now, something I would like to highlight about this weapon is the damage and the fire rate. Range, it's a shotgun, so I don't think that matters. Accuracy is always something to take into consideration. Now, we've got 212 and 36 in the fire rate, so that's the two most important ones. Now, to give that some credence, I'm going to compare it to what people regard to be one of the better shotguns that isn't the Gauss one, the combat shotgun. So here we have the combat shotgun, which has a clip size by standard at about 8. Now if we upgrade the receiver, the most damage I can get out of it is 166. That's a loss of about 40 odd damage, well 30 something, and that's the prime receiver, the most powerful receiver I can get on this. So even with the most powerful receiver, I can't top the damage of the double barrel. On top of that, the fire rate is significantly less. Obviously, because this is a 25% faster fire rate shotgun, it would probably be faster when actually using it, but the fire rate is significantly lower in this gun. On top of that, as you can see, the accuracy doesn't get much better either, depending on the receiver. This isn't fully upgraded, but what I'll do is I'll upgrade it to the most powerful I can get it, and we'll see what we get. So, as you can see, even upgraded to the maximum I can get it with different mods, the damage isn't getting anywhere close. The fire rate is also not getting anywhere close. I do have a magazine mod on here, the Swift magazine, which is going to increase my reload speed, but yeah, in terms of how this gun is going to do per shot, it's going to do a lot less damage. So definitely with the quad ability on there, the 8-barrel is going to do some decent damage at a much faster rate of fire. So now anybody that's played a Fallout game will have used at some point shotguns. And they're quite a powerful weapon. Very high damage at close range for very minimal effort. And it's no different in Fallout 76. I mean, these guns completely destroy things up close. And with the advantage of the superior fire rate, of the double barrel, this thing is, as you can see, going through these super mutants fairly easily. And I'm not optimized. Now, if I had a set of, damage buffs with the shotgunner perks, I believe I would be able to do a lot more damage in a lot quicker succession. There's also things that improve the spread and the accuracy of the gun. So there's lots of different things that come into play here. I mean, these raiders, raiders in general, are one of the weaker sets of enemies because they don't have a lot of armor, they don't have a lot of resistances because they're just basically humans, so there is that as well. But shotguns in general do quite well. You saw those super mutants going down, and as I said, unoptimized build. Obviously they weren't the maximum level super mutants, but there is that. And these Mirelurks, obviously not the max level, but as you can see, if I get their weak spot, which is the fleshy bit at the front, they're going down in nearly one hit. the gun itself does a lot of damage, and I think that's the advantage of it. Its biggest downside has and always would have been the lack of ammo that it can take before you have to reload. So with the quad on there, it gets rid of that disadvantage and instead evens the playing field with the combat shotgun. Don't get me wrong, the combat shotgun can get improved magazine capacity, so it can have more than the 8 shots in there, but it doesn't always have to be the case. Now, if it's not already obvious, an important thing about how shotguns work is that when you fire a round from the gun, you're not actually firing a single round. You're firing, I believe it's up to, I believe it's up to 12 pellets at the one time, and obviously they fly out in a spread. Now that's the important thing to take into consideration, because it means you can hit more than one target with a shotgun, and you can also basically hit in a wide range. So it's got a tiny kind of AoE. It also means that you could be aiming directly at something and somehow miss it with some of the pellets. So that's the kind of downside of shotguns in general. Now we'll move on to the perks. The first we're going to talk about is Scattershot. Now what this does is it reduces the weight of shotguns by anything up to 90% and helps you reload by another 30% if you've maxed out the perk. The good thing about this is the double barrel doesn't actually have a bad reload speed. It's actually pretty damn quick. Add the 15% extra I've got on the effect of the gun itself, and this thing is going to be reloading almost instantaneously. I don't know if this perk would be particularly worth it for this gun in particular, but it would definitely be, you know, like bang, bang, bang. quite fast fire rate combined with quite fast reload speed. So yeah, definitely something to consider, and something I will be looking into in the near future. Next up, we have the 3 different shotgunner perks. Now the thing about these is they all do exactly the same thing. They boost the damage by up to 20%. Now, if you've only got 3 points to spend when it comes to these perks, the best thing to do is just get one of each and pop them on there for a total of 30% extra damage. I'm sure it works that way. I could be wrong. It could be like 10% added, then 10% added to that, and then 10. I really don't know how damage scaling works in this game. It can be a bit confusing, but either way, you could go down that route. The next set of perks will be in the perception tree. Now in this tree we have Skeet Sure. This improves the accuracy of the shotguns and the spread. Now by logic's sake, and I'm not 100% certain on this, the way that it should work is that it should narrow your spread so that if you fire a gun directly into something's head, it's going to hit their head. Now if you do it very close range, it's going to do that anyway, but this will give you that extra bit of distance where you're able to actually land like a complete headshot with the shotgun. If you add in the concentrated fire perk as well and use it with VATS, that would further increase the not only the damage but the accuracy of the gun. So that's definitely something that I would recommend as a potential way of using this gun, especially with its crazy fire rate and reload speed. That's all the shotgun specific perks. Now obviously I don't have an optimized build, so I'm not going to go through all the kind of crap that I've got on here that is not relevant. However, we do have concentrated fire, which, as you know, increases your accuracy and, you know, your damage per shot. So that would definitely help. It's also going to help you target limbs and things like that, so headshots, that kind of thing through VATS make a lot of sense with this gun. We've got Tenderizer for the extra 10% damage for 10 seconds after every attack. We've got Nerd Rage for that extra 20% health, damage resist, and the 20% extra damage when I'm below a certain level of health. And then we've got Bloody Mess to get another 15% extra damage. That's really all the kind of perks that I can think of that are particularly usable for shotguns, but at the same time, as I said, it does a lot of damage already. Now, as usual, we're going to test this baby on some of the bigger, badder enemies in the game. First, we'll start off with, as usual, the Behemoth. And as you can see, we just splash him a lot. Now, obviously, if you're aiming for the head, which is harder on this guy than it might seem, you'd be able to get a lot more damage in quick succession. But, as you can see, yeah, he goes down fairly easily. Shotgun ammo is one of the more common ones I also find in the game, so you don't need to worry about spamming it. And I think that's a fairly resounding, it slaps this bugger. Alrighty, so in my testing, this is not the enemy you want to take on with this gun, unfortunately. The biggest problem you've got is you realistically need to be hitting her in the face every time. And as you can see, face shots do a significant amount of damage, but anywhere else, and you're kind of doing a pittance. So getting her into this current position that I've got her in is your kind of best bet. And she hits like a freight train, so it's kind of that way where Mirelurk Queens aren't really worth killing with this gun. You're better off going for smaller targets for definite. It just doesn't output the required damage at a rate that is... Well, required damage isn't the right word. It doesn't put out the specific kind of area damage. If you could aim it easier, and again, once I have the right perks, that might become a different case, but you very much have to get the high ground on her with this weapon as it is in a standard state. So I'm killing her, I'm just not killing her as fast as I could do with my heavy weapons or with my Tesla rifles. But yeah, if you use your brains, I suppose that's going to get you. As you can see, it does actually decent damage. It's just you need to be able to hit her in the face. So take that into consideration if you try and fight the Mirelurk Queen with this thing. Face damage, good. Just about anywhere else, quite bad. Quite bad indeed. Now, obviously, the Mirelurk Queen isn't the same as most enemies in the game. 99% of enemies in the game don't have a big hardened shell on its back. I mean, take the Grafton Monster, for example. As you can see, nearly a full clip, and he's dead. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive for an unoptimized shotgun. You've got these things here. I mean, couple of hits, gone. Like, the gun itself is not low on damage. It's just a case of, on a heavily armoured enemy that needs specifically pinpointed damage, you're not going to be able to do that damage. So against Earl or the Queen, it's still going to do the damage you need it to do. It's just going to be more difficult for you to survive, obviously, unless you've got your build optimised for taking damage. But definitely, like, the Mirelurk Queen is one of the few exceptions in which this gun probably won't do well in comparison. But again, if you have the optimized build and you're pinpointing your shots, then you probably would do a lot of damage quite quickly to her. So we move on to daily ops and how this gun fares. Now, as you'll see, we're killing enemies in around about 3 to 4 shots, depending where we're hitting them. And so far, I've managed to get anywhere between 4 and 12 ammo. It could be anything up to 16, because quite often I find that's an amount that you tend to get. Now, some enemies do take less damage than others, but in general, if you get up close and personal, you're going to slap them into the ground like they're nothing. And at this moment in time, I definitely feel like I'm gaining ammo rather than losing it. So, yeah. Robots are also one of the more robust enemies that you get in daily ops. There's obviously Blood Eagles that are the weakest, and Super Mutants that I would say are a good mid-range, especially for ballistic weapons. So, this isn't even an expression of how strong the gun is, because against the Blood Eagles, I'm going to be most likely one-shotting them, and again, unoptimized. So definitely would say that this gun is going to slap the crap out of enemies and daily ops in general. Alrighty, so we get to see how it does against the enemy leader, and need I remind you, this is freezing robots, so literally the hardest combination of enemy that you get in daily ops. Now, it's all about whether I can get close enough to actually survive, but as you can see, my damage output isn't too bad on him, and if it wasn't for the freezing mode, we'd probably have already killed him, because he's a massive pain in the butt crack. Oh Jesus. But you can see, definitely usable even in this mode. Oh god, is he gonna die, or am I gonna die? Too many robots. Oh god. So yeah, 100% a very usable weapon. So that was today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, a comment and subscribe. Really helps out the channel. We managed to finally hit 600 subs the other day, so I'm absolutely happy with that, and thank you very much to everyone for the support. But yeah, this gun, I definitely enjoy it. I definitely will be using it in the future, especially when the new build mechanic thing comes in, where you're able to swap out for different loadouts and whatnot. That will be very interesting to use, and I certainly intend to kind of make a large variety of builds. The biggest problem at the moment with doing that is you have to put a lot of effort into leveling up a character and getting the perks, getting the legendary perks. So once this new loadout system comes in, it's going to be a lot easier. But yeah, that's today's video. We'll catch you next time in the wasteland.